Hi guys, my name is Siobhan Fallon and this is my first video from Cyprus. Some of you have requested I try my hand at doing shorter presentations, so I thought we could discuss the brief but tumultuous life of Lieutenant Benjamin Hubert Hodgson, who died at the Battle of the Little Bighorn on June 25, 1876. Benny was a part of Major Reno's command, and he was shot during the retreat from the timber. During the Reno Court of Inquiry, Reno referred to Benny as a great favorite of the regiment. However, Benny had his share of trouble too. So let's talk about his life, his death, and even his afterlife. Thank you so much for joining me.
Benny was born to a wealthy Philadelphia family on June 30th, 1848. He was tiny, probably around 5'4", but he had a big temper. He is described as handsome, reckless, rollicking, noble-hearted, and brave. He entered West Point in July 1865, and it took him 5 years to graduate. Like Cadet George Armstrong Custer, Benny racked up a lot of demerits, 747 of them. And though the infractions seem laughable to us today, like talking or laughing in the ranks or smoking, he also received quite a few for being disrespectful to his superiors. Benny graduated in 1870. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant, and he joined the 7th Cavalry, along with his classmate Winfield Edgerly. From late 1870 to 1873, Benny, with the 7th Cav, would find himself in Colorado, then Fort Leavenworth, then down to South Carolina for Reconstruction duty, and one of their roles there was to curb the power of the Ku Klux Klan. When the 7th was posted to the Dakotas, Benny was part of the Yellowstone Campaign in 1873 and the Black Hills Expedition of 1874. When elements of the 7th were again sent on Reconstruction duty, Benny was assigned to Shreveport, Louisiana for almost 2 years. While there in October 1874, he was court-martialed for being under the influence of alcohol, for drawing his pistol on a civilian, and for using improper language when he had been ordered to deliver a writ of habeas corpus by a local judge. Benny had said, "Give Judge Trimble my compliments and tell him to go to hell, and the next time to send 3 papers, one to use when I go to the privy." The court reprimanded Benny, but he was restored to his duties because of the, quote, testimonials of his commanding officers and comrades in arms. Sure doesn't hurt being a favorite of the regiment. Frederick Benteen would later imply that, also in Louisiana, Benny had a relationship with Emily Bell, the wife of 7th Cavalry officer and Benny's acting company commander of B Company, Lieutenant James Bell. And if those names ring a bell, maybe you recall that the Bells played a key role in one of Major Reno's future court-martials. When Benny left Louisiana in the spring of 1876 and headed back to Fort Abraham Lincoln, he had exchanged heated words with G Company Commander Lieutenant Donald McIntosh, who placed Benny under arrest. Benny planned to resign, but he withdrew his resignation papers for the thrill of one last campaign, and that campaign, sadly, was the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Lieutenant Godfrey claimed that Benny, some days before the battle, had said that if he were dismounted in battle or wounded, he intended to take hold of somebody's stirrup to assist himself in the field. That dark opportunity presented itself on June 25th, 1876. On that day, Benny was Reno's adjutant. Reno and 3 companies had been sent by Custer into the valley to bring the hostile Sioux in northern Cheyenne to battle. After a brief dismounted skirmish line fight with the Indians, Reno's men regrouped in a wooded timber and soon retreated toward the bluffs and what would be called Reno Benteen Hill, with the Indian warriors close at their heels. During the disorganized recrossing of the Little Bighorn River, Benny was shot. I'll read from Private William Morris's account. "I made for the river on the retreat, and I jumped my horse off the bank, which was at least 10 feet high, landing in the center of the river, which proved to be deep. I thought I was a goner, but we came up smiling, crossed to the opposite side, and made for the cut or pony trail, which led up to the bluff. When I arrived there, Lieutenant Hodgson, Jack of Clubs, was in the river, grabbing for a trooper's stirrup who refused to help him. I saw the water was crimson around his legs and thighs. Bullets were flying like hailstones. I rode up. Hodgson reached out and said, "For God's sake, don't leave me here. I am shot through both legs." And I said, "All right, grab hold." I gave him my right stirrup, which he grabbed with both hands, and I grabbed him by the collar. He was safe until the third plunge of the horse, and he let go. He was probably hit again. He fell to the ground in the middle of the cut, which was about 12 feet high. Survivors later found Benny's body about 20 feet from the river. His watch had been taken, but Major Reno was able to recover Benny's West Point class ring. Benny's body was taken up to Reno Benteen Hill, sewn in a blanket, and buried there. Lieutenant Francis Gibson would write to his wife, "Varnum cried over Benny's death like a baby. You know how much they thought of one another." In July 1877, a West Point classmate, Robert Newton Price, and remember that name, folks, Price becomes a friend of Benteen's later on, exhumed Benny's body, accompanied it back east, and Benny was buried in Laurel Hill Cemetery, Philadelphia, in October 1877. In 1880, Camp Ben Hodgson on the Little Missouri River was named in his honor. Benny's story does not end there. In 1877, yet another West Point classmate, Clinton Tebbets, at the last minute visited a mind reader. Tebbets wrote down a question to someone in the, quote, beyond, and he crumpled it into a little ball. Tebbets' message read, "Lieutenant B.H. Hodgson, dear friend, did Custer's command go into the fight willingly or not?" The question remained in a tight little ball, but the mind reader said he saw a soldier lying on the bank of a river, and then he quickly wrote as if taking dictation, "My dear Clint, we of course went in willingly, for we never deemed defeat possible. We were anxious for a combat with the Red Devils, and we had it too, but their numbers were far too great for us, and we died gallantly, so goodbye, old boy." And this note was signed exactly like Benny's signature in the West Point class register. There had been a couple more sightings of Benny's ghost. Two different people on two separate occasions say he appeared in their bedroom the night before they toured the river crossing where Benny was killed. And that there is Lieutenant Benny Hodgson's marker that was returned down to the Little Bighorn River near the site of his death and where it remains today.
As always, please subscribe and like, and many thanks to my researching friends, Dale Cosman and Bill Rinney, who provided me with all sorts of great information about Benny today. Thanks so much, guys. Oh, and let me know if you like the shorter video format. See you soon, I hope.